I'm Matt, and I'm a Villa fan for life as far as I'm aware.
I'm Alex. I've been an Albion fan for all my life, 22 years now of pain.
And I'm Ryan, and I'm a Birmingham City fan, and I never had a choice.
Brilliant. Okay, first question really. We'll get straight into it. Obviously, the World Cup starts. We know the squads, we know the teams. Who's going to win it and why, Ryan?
I'm going to go for Brazil, I think. I think all their players are great, and they're all in form and all playing for big teams at the moment. Neymar, Jesus, the team to watch.
I think Brazil are the team to beat. Their manager named the starting 11 almost 2 months ago, so there's a real cohesion to the squad. They know what they're doing. Absolute world beaters. Jesus, Neymar up front. And when people like Bobby Firmino can't get even in the first 11, it shows they've got strength in depth as well.
It's got to be Brazil for me. You know, that squad's so strong in every area. And you look at their path to the final, and it's got England on that path, and I can't see many people getting in their way, if anyone.
You all think Brazil are going to do well and go all the way and that no one's going to stop them. Let's talk about England and the hopes that they've got. On paper, it's a group they should easily get through. Whether they win it is unsure, but how far do you think they'll go, Ryan?
I think they'll definitely get out of the group and probably pick a big team and then just get knocked out and just be disappointing as usual. But we have got a young side that's quite refreshing for a change, and that pass the ball around and score goals. Like, I don't know. I don't really think I can call it. I don't really know how far England are going to go.
I think that there's a lower expectation than ever before, and that takes some beating considering Brazil, but I think that will help us. I think that many will ridicule us for how young the side is. It's one of the youngest in the tournament, but I think that plays in our favour. We are the underdog this time around.
Yeah, I think the expectation levels over the last few tournaments have dropped, which I think helps the squad. I think the country's got behind Southgate the last few months, and these younger players coming through like Rashford, Lingard, Trent Alexander-Arnold, fans are really getting behind those players, and I don't think there's any reason why we can't reach at least a quarter-final.
They're managed by former Villa stalwart Gareth Southgate. Matt, as a Villa fan, are you surprised that he's in this position, and how impressed have you been with him?
He's gone about his business very well. I think that he's defended the players very well, and I think he's been very honest and open about things, and I think it's refreshing to see in comparison to the likes of Sam Allardyce and Roy Hodgson. I think that he's got a fresh approach, and he might surprise a few from that perspective.
From a Blue Nose perspective, I actually do rate him. He's very calm and collected. He speaks very well. I think he's got him playing a system that suits the players, and everyone knows the roles. It's not like chopping and changing, not trying to crowbar the best players into every position. There's going to be a good England manager in the long run.
Been open and honest under his tenure, and there was a lot of pressure on him with the picking of the squad. There was everybody calling out for Jack Wilshere to go, but he didn't bow to that pressure, and he's took somebody like Loftus-Cheek, who's had a really good season at Crystal Palace. So, you know, he's a man who'll stick by his word, and he's been honest with every decision. He always says what you want to hear, and on the back of a good tournament, you could see him easily taking us to the next World Cup in 4 years' time as well.
You've told me who you think will do well and who will win it, and how England will do, but who do you think will be an underdog and will go further than people expect?
Uruguay is the one for me, with Suarez and Cavani. They're two world-class strikers, got a solid spine, they've got a relatively easy group, and if they top that, they've got a fairly easy run to at least the quarter-finals. They don't concede many goals. I mean, Suarez, it depends which one turns up. You could either get the one that will score in every game or the one that will get sent off every time he steps on the pitch. But if they can keep him sane and get Cavani firing as well, I can see them going deep into the tournament.
Spain will go into this tournament now as an underdog with all that's happened with their managerial situation in the last sort of few days. They'll go down as an underdog, and you can't write them off. And I'll sit my neck on the line and say England. I think we'll surprise a few this tournament. You know, we always say it, but there's every chance that we could end up in a semi-final.
Belgium for me. They're due to turn up for a tournament. It just hasn't happened for them yet. I think this year might be the year.
There are plenty of West Midlands representatives in Russia. Firstly, let's start with Aston Villa and the current situation, obviously, they're in. And you've got three players. You've got Ahmed El Mohammadi, Egypt, obviously, Mila Jedinak of Australia, and Birkir Bjarnason of Iceland. With the current situation, are you worried they'll all be in a shop window in Russia?
I think Bjarnason's 100% a shop window for me. El Mohammadi, I think he's a championship player now, so he's not going to be going anywhere soon, I don't think. And then I think the same applies for Mila Jedinak. He's in the latter years of his career, so I'm not too concerned about them two. But for me, Bjarnason's a player I want to see us keep hold of this summer. But if he has a good World Cup and plays in the right position, then Premier League team could quite easily come knocking because he's a clever and tidy little player that's got a bit of pace about him, considering his best role is as a defensive midfielder.
From Villa to Blues now, you've got the one representative for Blues, and that's Cheikh Doi. He's obviously Senegal. He's got some really talented teammates. Obviously, Sadio Mane, you've got Cheikhou Kouyaté. What can we expect from him? Have you been impressed with him this season? And looking to the World Cup, does he deserve to be there?
He does a job for a team. He's not the most agile of players. He's very cumbersome, but he's a big powerhouse. He wins a lot of headers, and he breaks up play quite well. He's going to be the guy at the World Cup that everyone's making memes about, I think. 1 minute he'll do something brilliant, and then the next thing he'll just kick it out of play for no reason, like 40 yards. He's an enigma. You either love him or you hate him, I think.
Obviously, you've only got the one representative. Is there any player that you think is played well enough to represent their country?
I think Neves at Wolves should be there. I know he's not playing elite football, but I think he's definitely done enough where elite teams are looking at him. So he's obviously got the quality to produce and go to the World Cup and have an impact. I think he should be there.
And before I come on to West Brom, I'll ask you two about Ruben Neves as well while we're on this subject. Matt, you've seen him close up this season as a Villa fan. Why do you think he's been left out?
I think it's just because he's in the Championship. If he was playing for any side in that Premier League, he'd be going to the World Cup. I think it's as simple as that. He's been a class above every single player in that division for the whole season. Month in, month out, he's been the best player.
Yeah, it's a really strange one because he went to Euro 2016 a couple of years ago and now he's 21, 22. These World Cups, you don't get many in your career, and that's going to be another 4 years. He'll be 26 roughly for the next one, so he'll be in his prime, but you'd think that they'd want to start embedding these younger players in. I know he doesn't play the same position, but they're taking Pepe and Bruno Alves with a combined age of about 70 between them. So it is a really strange one. I mean, if he was English, he'd walk into the side. Maybe that shows the depth that Portugal have. But yeah, even as a Albion fan, I can't quite get my head round that Neves isn't going to World Cup.
Back to the subject matter at hand in terms of players that we have going to the World Cup. West Brom have 5 that potentially could be playing. There's 4 that are definitely going. 2 of them may not be West Brom players next season. The other one's on standby. So let's start with permanent West Brom players, Ahmed Higazi and Nasser Chadli. Chadli has been, I think it's safe to say, a little bit hit and miss for West Brom. He's in a very talented Belgium side. Are you surprised that he's still in that squad at all?
In terms of talent, I think he's got the ability to play for Belgium, maybe not start, but the fact that he's been injured, surely Belgium would want players that have been fit all season and lots of minutes under their belt. But in the recent friendlies, he's played a fair few minutes for them, got a couple of assists. So they obviously see something, and he always seems to perform well for Belgium. He's a good option. He can play anywhere really behind the striker. So yeah, I think he will have a decent World Cup, a good impact player off the bench.
Ahmed Higazi, I think his season reflected West Brom's a bit, I think, for me. I think he started so well. He came in, he scored the winner against Bournemouth on his debut. Superb, looked really strong, really commanding it. And then it's just faltered massively like the rest of your season, really. Do you think he will perform well like he did in those first couple of games, or will it be the Ahmed Higazi who played for the majority of the season?
Yeah, some weeks he looks like the next Sergio Ramos. Some weeks he looks like we've plucked him from Sunday League. He really is the most bizarre defender. He has a lot of individual errors, but Egypt play quite a defensive system. They like to sit back and hit on the counter-attack to Salah, and I think in that situation, Higazi is great. Any ball that comes into the box, he's tall, he's big, he's strong. He'll be the first to that ball to clear it. I think he'll be fine in the World Cup, but I can't see them getting through their group.
And finally, on West Brom, there's Jake Livermore, who isn't going to the World Cup, but he's on standby. As a West Brom fan who watches them week in, week out, what is your thought on that? Do you think he deserved to be in the 23?
If you take it over the whole season, probably not. But looking at the final 2-3 months of the season, he's been much improved. And I think you need players like Livermore. He's very much like Jordan Henderson, tidy player, keeps the ball. Okay, he's not going to drive the ball forward from midfield, but he keeps possession, keeps it ticking over, and you do need those sort of players. Gareth Barry is the prime example, the Michael Carrick type. You just need to keep the ball. He does that well. He'll grab you the odd goal. Is he good enough for the 23? Probably not, especially when you look at people like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's younger, more, promising, coming through the ranks. But if there's an injury to somebody, I'm sure he'll be able to fill in no problem.